How bad? How bad does it have to get outside in the world for you to turn towards yourself? So there's so much stuff going on in the news with Russia and so on, and the Ukraine, and as usual the world's gotten pretty funky again, and there are so many harrowing images and so much fearful news in the news all over the place, which may be causing you to feel potentially powerless. You may be feeling more fear. You may be feeling perhaps more stress than usual. And my question is, if all of this stuff is happening outside and all of these doors are banging and asking you for the attention in a very fearful, very intense way from what's going on, which is going on, I appreciate that, and I appreciate it's really bad. My question is, how about you? What about you? And what about what you need? What about prioritizing yourself even more instead of prioritizing what's going on in the world and how terrible it is, which it is? But what about if instead you prioritized yourself and what you need in order to feel better, in order to feel good, in order to feel empowered, in order to have more clarity? What about you? That's my question to you. What do you think about that? How bad does it have to get? Or how much do you possibly need to suffer in order to turn towards yourself and say, do you know what, world? I know you're really, really stressed at the moment, but do you know what, world? I need my attention too. And I matter. I matter enough to pay myself attention. What if you said that? What if you said that to, in response, not physically say it, but what if you said that to yourself in response to all of that attention seeking? It's really bad stuff going on in the world. What if you gave yourself more attention instead? And then, what if from there you may be more resourced and you may be more equipped to go and be in service out in the world where there is all that need? But what if you're resourced first? It's like, imagine you have a car, and I appreciate petrol prices have or are going up at the moment. Whoops, another bad thing. Yay, another bad thing to be stressed about and angry and fearful, and another bad thing to feel powerless about. But what if you're that car, and what if you need to refuel yourself first before you even have the resource to get in the car and go and do something else? What if you put yourself more up your priority list? Hi, what if you do that for yourself? And I suggest that looks like communicating clearly what your needs are, communicating clearly that you matter, and having really, really clear boundaries. What's a boundary? What do I mean by that? Well, it just simply means what your preferences are. What's your yes? What's your no? And to communicate that clearly. Because if you don't communicate that, and if you don't communicate what you need because you matter, then how is anybody else supposed to know? Given that everyone is possibly really stressed as well. So what's the solution? What's the solution to all of this? Well, you know what? I've heard everybody say so many people say that all you have to do is create healthy boundaries. You have to set your healthy boundaries and you have to communicate assertively or non-violently. But what does that even mean? If you're in the thick of it, if you're in the push comes to shove, how do you find the words? How do you gather that strength? Where is even that strength? Where is it? In my experience, in the moment where I most needed that strength, it was very, very far away because I actually didn't know where to find it, if that resonates with you. Give me a little, put a 1 in the comments if that resonates with you. Exactly. What does that mean? It means nothing. I think it means nothing because it's as unhelpful as me saying, hey mate, hey babe, all you have to do is believe in yourself and be yourself. That's all you've got to do, and then everything will work out because everything will be in alignment. Okay, that's a true statement. That's a true teaching. It's extremely powerful, but how do you actually implement that? Not even God knows. Not even God knows. How do you actually implement, be true to yourself, communicate clearly, and be very clear what your boundaries are, what your preferences are, what your yes and no is? How to actually do that? Very few people actually teach that. And I would like to teach you that because I know that that's the most important thing. The most important thing is when push comes to shove, switch on the news, just look at the papers, loads of crazy shizzles going on. So many people I know are really, really, really having meltdowns. They're really going through it. And that's why I've jumped on live now, because I actually give a you know what. I give a beep. I really do. I really do. And I know that the best, highest, most powerful, badass way of being in service that you could ever need is to know the how to implement taking care of yourself, how to implement presenting to a situation that may be manipulative. You may be potentially being bullied, emotionally bullied. You may be experiencing these things. You may be experiencing emotional manipulation or bullying at work, with colleagues, with your boss, with your friends, or with your family, or with people, you know, with your community. You may possibly perhaps be going through that kind of stuff, because the more that the pressure cooker is getting more pressurized in the world, which it is, the more these things come to light. And the more you may be feeling powerless before that, especially if you watch the news, which I don't. I don't, because I like to cultivate personal power, so I don't choose to watch the news. But I'm aware of what's going on. So the missing piece, and what I'd like to share with you, is how do you, that next time you have that difficult situation, how do you communicate for the good, for the win-win? How do you communicate for your well-being, for your putting yourself first, but not, how do you do that? Instead of not saying what you need and potentially betraying yourself. How can you stop betraying yourself? That's what I care about. That's what I care about, because if you don't betray yourself, if you put yourself first, often I hear people say, well, that person betrayed me, or this group of people betrayed me, that community betrayed me, and I identify with that feeling. I have felt very betrayed in my life many, many times. But what if you are possibly the one that betrays yourself if you don't take care of yourself? If you don't put yourself first, if you don't speak up when it matters, at the time that it matters? What if that's a self-betrayal, that then you're the one that's leading that? You're the one that can do something about that. You're the grown-up. You're the one that can choose that you're important. You're the one that can choose that you need to put some ground rules down. You need to let somebody know, you don't speak to me like that, for example. You need to let another person know, you don't tell me what to do. What if you're the one that needs to clearly communicate that to somebody so that they understand, that doesn't cut it with me anymore. You don't do that to me anymore. That's what I mean by boundaries, by speaking up for yourself. That's what I mean by being clear. Don't get mad, get clear. If you shout at someone, if you lose your you-know-what, it's not so constructive. If you instead be clear, that's not only constructive, it's so empowering. It's so nobody can argue with that. That's you laying it down because you matter and because you say so. No other need. No other need to prove yourself, because you say so and because you matter. That's why. That's why you put that boundary down. That's why you say enough is enough. And all the very best, and I'm now going over there. That's why. And I care about that because it breaks my heart to see people suffer, to see my friends suffer, my family suffer. It breaks my heart to see my community suffer. It breaks my heart to see people be destroyed by war. It breaks my heart, and I know that there's something that you can do about that today by understanding the game plan, the strategy of how to communicate clearly and how to speak up for yourself and how to discern when things are not okay for you. Because usually these things happen so quickly, you don't even have time. You don't even have time to figure out what the beeps just happened. I'm just in a caught with your pants down moment. So I'd like to teach you how to have the foresight, how to discern, how to see that hazard coming towards you and what to do about it when it does, because let's face it, in my opinion, life's pretty difficult. I'm not one of these positive people that think everything's all roses and unicorns. I see life as it is, and it's a stressful, difficult place that's full of fear-mongering. I call a spade, and I call a you-know-what a you-know-what. So from that premise of it's pretty challenging, there's only one way to go. And I'd like to show you what those ways are and what that way is. What's your game plan? What do you say? So that you've got something up your sleeve. Otherwise, in the moment, you may not have enough time, because things happen really, really quickly, don't they? Yes or no? How do you know when you're being manipulated? How do you know when you're being gaslit, when you're being emotionally bullied? How do you know if that's what's always happened? If that's all you've ever known? So how do you know, oh, that's not okay? How do you know? Unless you have a clear distinction of this is this, that's not okay. We put that out of the way and create a really empowering context for yourself instead. That's what we do instead. How do you know all of that when, number one, nobody teaches how to do that, and they should. They should teach this in schools, because if they did, children wouldn't receive abuse and children wouldn't be bullied, because they would know what to do instead. Does that resonate with you? Yes or no? Give me a number one. Give me a number one in the comments if this resonates, and a 0 if it doesn't. Because if it doesn't resonate, I'm here to explain. So I'm offering a masterclass in boundaries, in self-empowerment, in how to speak up for yourself without confrontation, without the you-know-what show, without rocking the boat, without upsetting, without all of the hassle. How to speak up for yourself because you can, because you matter. And I'm doing that this Sunday, the 13th, 2 p.m. UK time. I'll put the link in here afterwards, but above on the title of this live video, there's a link to the event called How to Speak Up for Yourself, and you have to register. So when it's got the about link, the sign up link, you have to go in there, put your name and your email, and you'll get an automatic email from me with the details, and I'll send you the Zoom link. You can come on live, or you can watch it on replay. And I'd like to teach you this in more detail, so what I can teach in a 1-hour masterclass is limited. I will also be offering a longer course if that's important for you, if you feel that that's what you want, if you feel that that's what you need, and only you can decide that. So if all the shizzle's going on in the world, all the stress is going on in the world, all the war, all the viruses and all of that stuff, like so many reasons to be scared, to be terrified, to feel powerless, so many reasons. I assert that you have power within you that is bigger than all of that. And I suggest that when you find out how to access that power, and there's a strategy to that, which I've discovered over 28 years of facilitating personal empowerment and personal development and teaching leadership in corporate universities, to Zara, to Heineken, to Telefonica O2, to Toyota, working with high octane global clients. I've discovered, because I've developed the strategies and the distinctions, because to learn something and learn how to avoid falling down that same hole, you need to understand and get really clear what the hole is, what it looks like. You need to understand it better, so that then you can discern. So the distinctions that I teach you are to discern what the beep's going on, so that you can do something about it that's better. So that you can do something about it that respects you and the other person or the other people. So that you can do something about it without putting yourself at the bottom of the list, or not even on your priority list. So that you can do something about the stress and the challenges by prioritizing yourself even more. And so that you can stop being manipulated or controlled or coerced or bullied emotionally or otherwise. You can stop that and not receive that ever again. Does that make sense? This is important, because that's what I want for everybody. And there's a clear and simple way of doing that, but you need strategy, and you need to understand what's what before you start. It's like a game of chess. You need to understand how to move the pieces before you go and do that badass game, that strategy. But you need to understand the rules of the game, so that you can boss it. You can be above the game. You want to be 10 steps ahead. That's how strategy works, in my opinion. Now, all my teachings are my own. They're my own distinctions. They're my own strategies. They're my own teachings. So it's just my point of view. I'm not saying this is how it is. So that's my disclaimer. Only if it resonates with you, and if you think that you matter enough to put yourself not last, then check it out. Because I think that you matter. Now, my question to you is, do you matter to you enough to speak up for yourself, say no to the BS, to all of the BS, say no to it all, and give to yourself? How bad does it have to get for you to turn to yourself sincerely, not just when it's convenient, but always? I'm talking about sustainably all the time, not just when you're having a good day. Or haven't you suffered enough? Do you need to go and suffer some more before you think, oh, wait a sec, I need to stop and do something about my life? Do you need to suffer a bit more before you turn towards yourself and rate yourself enough to give yourself care, kindness, respect, love? What needs to happen? What needs to happen for you to turn towards yourself? What needs to happen? I would love that to happen right now. So I think you're worth it. Do you, though? Do you? Think about it. This is important. Because I think you're important. Okay. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you on Sunday. If you can't make Sunday, don't worry. Watch it on replay. But you're going to walk away with things you can implement straight away that will get you out of deep water, because you have the power to do that. Only you can lead yourself. Okay, if you're a child, if you're a minor, you can't. I get that. You're dependent on your caregiver. But if you're an adult, chances are that you are leading your own life. And you do have control over yourself and what you choose. So this is about your self-empowerment and you saying, actually, I can lead in this situation and I have a choice. Because I believe that you do have a choice. Now, finding how to, where that choice is, that takes an art. That takes skill, because when things are very powerless and very difficult, it can feel like you don't have a choice. Absolutely, and I've been there a million times. If you feel powerless, you feel powerless. Hey, Rolex, I don't have a choice, but there is a choice, but it takes skill to find, where do I have a choice? That again is another distinction. That's another roadmap. But I believe that you are in charge of your life. You're in control of what happens to you most of the time, but that's a lot. That's a lot of the time. And you get to lead your life. Because you're the boss. You're the boss. Who's your boss if it's not you? Or are you giving your power away to someone else? Are you in people-pleasing prison, or are you the boss? When you declare that, you're the boss. Who's the boss? Let me hear you. Who's the boss? Who's the boss? I'm the boss. You're the boss. Who's the boss? All that fear on the news, or you the boss of you? Who's the boss? Who's the boss? I think you're the boss. Okay, I'm going to go through some comments. Please write comments now. I'm going to do Q&A. My students tend to know exactly what they want and aren't afraid to tell me. That's amazing. Great. Love that. Love that. Are you? Do you tend to know exactly what you want and are not afraid to communicate that? Now, another thing is, you communicate, speak up for yourself, but it's all a bit Pete-tong, or it might all come out angrily or wibbly-wobblily. So that, again, you might say something that you regret. Now, that's not ideal. I've done that a million times too. Not ideal. You want to communicate clearly in a way that leaves you respecting yourself and the other person. Now, that's what I would love to teach you. So I find it extremely hard not to help the elderly. That's great. That's because I know you and you're a very kind person. Now, are you willing to give yourself, or do you, I don't know, you tell me, you don't have to, this is just an inquiry for you, to help yourself as much or more than you help another person? Are you willing to put yourself priority? Like, it's like being on an aeroplane. What's that? I don't know, I haven't flown for 2 years. But when they say the usual metaphor of put your oxygen mask on yourself before you help somebody else. That's another distinction. Crap cliche to be yourself. Absolutely. Who in the heaven knows what yourself really is? Do you really know who you really are? Because if you did, you would lay down that law and you would boss it, and your no would be very, very clear. Thank you very much. Any more for any mores. Exactly what does that mean? I choose to mutter to myself, fabulous. well, you know what? I matter to myself very much too. And I think that's important. And I want everybody, that's my prayer, I want everybody to matter so much to themselves that they treat themselves, you treat yourself with so much respect, that if you treat yourself with so much respect, how do you think you're going to treat everybody else? With the equal amount of respect, of regard, of dignity, of care. That's how to make the world a better place, and that energy is so powerful. Those vibrations and those waves are so powerful that they do change the world, and you can change the world from your armchair. Okay, it's a sofa, and you can, and you can, and you do, when you turn towards yourself. That's the most powerful energy. Why do you think all the news and why do you think all the information is inspiring you and inviting you to put yourself to one side and worry and give all of your attention, your heart attention? That's your light, your most precious, valuable asset. Give all of that outside of yourself. Why do you think that might be happening? Because if you give it to yourself, what would happen? You would be the almighty, divine being that you actually are. Interesting. Think about it. Thank you. So hit that link, sign up for Speak Up For Yourself. See you on Sunday if you will, if you resonate, or on catch up. Let's have an hour of masterclass, get some fantastic empowerment, boundaries and clarity on the table that you can just go get on and implement straight away. Thank you and bye for now.